in that second year that I worked for this chef, we were opening a new restaurant on New Year's Eve. If you can imagine what the insanity behind that idea would have been. But big gala, lots of like local celebrities and very swanky. And I cut off the tip of my thumb fabricating pineapple. I mean, it was something stupid. And I love that it doesn't matter how long you cook professionally or personally. It's very humbling. You can still cut yourself and burn yourself. It doesn't matter how seasoned you are, right? You know that. And I cut off the tip of my thumb around 8 p.m., right? Not a good time on New Year's Eve during an opening to start bleeding all over me's. And I wanted to keep working. And the corporate chef said, absolutely not. You're a liability. You're going to bleed everywhere. You might pass out. We have enough problems on our hands. Call your parents, go home. Or actually call your parents, tell them to take you to the hospital. And I did. And my dad, I remember my dad, as soon as I got in the car, said, oh, you're going to be okay. And you know what? I'm happy because I'm happy for you because you injured yourself before midnight and we've met our deductible for the year. So this isn't going to cost me anything. And I learned that day that there's something called skin glue. And I'm not a huge fan of needles. And they instead of stitches, they just glued the skin back on the tip of my finger. It's a scar I still have today. And I begged my parents to drive me back to work so that I could keep working. And I snuck into the restaurant and sort of like found one of the sous chefs who may have not known that I had been dismissed for the evening and said, okay, what can I do now? And about 20 minutes to midnight, the corporate chef caught me in the kitchen and said, what are you doing here? I sent you home. I said, it's fine. You don't have to pay me. He goes, so he just, times were different then. He just resigned himself to let me. He said, you can't be in the kitchen. You can go change and mingle with the guests in the dining room, have some champagne, just get away from this workspace. You're a liability, but you can stay.
Skin glue saves the day.
That's right. Yeah. So, if at first you don't get permitted to work, keep trying by all means necessary. But the laws of our industry and the nature of our industry have changed so much from what you've read, from what you read about in Anthony Bourdain's accounts and Marco Pierre White's accounts. And I feel like my generation, I'm 30, was at the tail end of that. Mm-hmm. So I did see people do lines of cocaine on the line with dried penne pasta. I did have hot things thrown at me. I did hear every obscenity possible directed at me. I was sometimes subject to violence, physically, definitely emotionally, verbally abusive, etc. But that was on its way out when I was coming in. So I am thankful in a way that I got to prove my mettle to myself for being able to endure that which no one should have to endure in a workplace. But seeing the way the industry is going now, for a lot of reasons, largely the lawsuits that have come as a result of that behavior, it's oddly wrong and nostalgic for those of us who started cooking when we did to say, oh yeah, the good old days. Here's what we can't do anymore, and for good reason. But boy, back then, if these kids today knew how well they had it, they wouldn't be complaining about how
That's probably
bad.
True of every generation, right?
I'm sure.
Telling the stories and.
But in restaurant years, it ages you like dog years. 30 years old, my mind and body is well into my 70s.